First up, we'll take a look at the 100-meter dash. And anytime you have a capacity crowd, Marty LaQuarrie, part of the reason would have to be Carl Lewis. He is here, the world record holder at 9.92. He won 2 nights ago in Lausanne at 10.09. What sort of shape, what kind of condition is Carl Lewis in tonight?
Carl is running very well. In his first race, he won the American Championships in a faster time than he ran all of last year. You mentioned he ran fast and won in Lausanne 2 nights ago. And he has the one man in the world next to him, Linford Christie of Great Britain, who is probably his equal in speed, technique, and experience. So he'll get Carl's adrenaline going.
Lewis seemingly as quick as ever at the somewhat advanced age of 29. Earlier, our man Larry Rawson spoke with Carl Lewis.
Carl, how do you have to run your race in order to win?
Well, Larry, as you know, it's only my 3rd race of the season, so the main thing is to make sure I run out of the blocks technically well. I think I can handle this field if I get out well, even with them in the beginning, and then rely on the way I run towards the end. But being early, I have to make sure that I start well.
Who concerns you most in the race?
Well, the 2 main ones, of course, Linford Christie, who's a silver medalist from 1988, will be next, will be lane 3. And then outside him, a guy at Denikin, who's a young sprinter, who's a collegiate sprinter. He's been running probably the best of everyone else in the field.
25 countries of the world are taking this live. Good luck.
Well, thank you very much, Larry.
Lewis mentioned Linford Christie. There he is, born in Jamaica, now a citizen of Great Britain, 30 years old.
Well, this is a one shot Carl may get against Christie this year. If Christie wins this race, he'll avoid Carl for the rest of the year. So Carl has to tag him while he can.
Christie has run a 9.97. He did that in 1988. It's the 6th fastest of all time. Darren Council of the United States, living now in Gainesville, Florida, attended Auburn. He's 25 years old. He won at Helsinki on the 27th of June in a time of 10.31, but it would be quite an upset if Council were to win here.
Well, he's one of the 2 men in the field who seem to be on top of their game, running personal best in the last couple of weeks. It's a little cooler here than Carl's used to in Houston, and last year he was upset here, and they're thinking that Denikin here or Darren Council, who have been in Europe longer, may run better in these cool temperatures.
Denikin, as you saw, from Nigeria, but no stranger to U.S. track fans. He's a sophomore at the University of Texas at El Paso. Field of 6. Council in lane 1, then Lewis in lane 2. Next to him, Linford Christie. Denikin out of lane 4. Then Robeson de Silva from Brazil in lane 5. And Mike Marsh from UCLA in lane 6. And if you had to handicap this race, and there are the marks, the world and American records, Lewis at 9.92, and of course you must keep in mind the best marks for Ben Johnson have been expunged.
And the European press in the press conference gave Carl a little bit of a nudge about that. They asked him if he really considered himself the world record holder. Of course, Carl would love to erase any marks that Johnson had done.
Again, if you had to handicap this race, no doubt Lewis would be the favorite. Then you'd have Christie and Denikin, then Council perhaps 4th, followed by De Silva and Marsh. Carl Lewis, not only a noted sprinter, but a noted author as well, with the release of his book recently, Inside Track, which has gotten more than a little attention in the world of track and field. And there it is, and he pulls no punches.
He said he's going to have to pull no punches at the start here. He knows he needs a good start. He's really got to focus on the starter's gun. And although Carl has 10 of the 20 fastest times in the 100 meters ever, this is his 2nd best event. You have to remember that.
It's the only event in which he's entered in Oslo. He's not participating in the long jump here. In the long jump, he hasn't lost a competition since 1981. And the starters now calling the sprinters to the line. Again, on the inside to the right of the screen is Darren Council. Then Lewis in lane 2, Christie in lane 3, Denikin in lane 4, and De Silva and Marsh in lanes 5 and 6.
I would be surprised if we don't see a false start from lane 5 or 6. This is not collegiate competition. You're allowed a false start. And Marsh, who finished last in a race just 2 nights ago, needs a flyer to be in contention. It looked like Darren Council in lane 1 may have gotten out. Marsh was just off the screen, but Marsh and De Silva. Now, De Silva is the best in the world at 200 meters, won 19 of 20 races last year, and was fifth in the Olympics, but he doesn't have the start of these guys. So there's a couple of guys with big reputations that need the edge at the start. This is Carl. You can see Darren's hands in lane 1 coming up before anyone else's. But I believe Marsh was out pretty quickly also.
And you can see how close Marsh is to the stands. You are right up next to the stands in lane 6, and that's part of the beauty at Bislett Stadium in Norway. The crowd right on top of the athletes. And many of the athletes talk about how they are energized here like no place else.
And it appears that Darren Council's been charged with the false start. He's the only man on that line that has a full-time job. He's a state policeman, and he's really blowing his role. He does a lot of undercover drugs, and he's not going to be able to go back and do that after the season that he's had.
Again, Council in 1, Lewis in 2, then Christie, then Adenican, then De Silva, and Marsh on the outside.
This is where the experience comes in. At 29 and 30 years old, Lewis and Christie have it.
And this time it is a fair start and a great start for Adenican in lane 4. Here comes Christie. Here comes Lewis as well. It's going to be very close at the finish, and it's a blanket finish. I think Lewis may just have gotten it in front of Adenican and Christie. But Adenican got off to a good start, and Christie came up in lane 3, and it was Carl Lewis very much in the photo at the end. And looking back, and Carl Lewis now acknowledging the fact that he apparently has won the 100-meter dash in a very, very close finish.
Well, if Carl had his hand up, he could see something that I could not see. At the start, Christie, just on Lewis's left, stumbled a little bit, and in white, Adenican was out very well. It is a very even race. And at 80 meters, where Carl usually blows away from everyone, it looked as if he almost stumbled. He's almost out of his lane here, and he just did not turn the jets on as he usually does. It really came down to the lean, and Carl, I think
it may have been Christie. Now that you take a look at it from this angle, still nothing official.
Let's look at which side, if Carl's eyes went to the right. He's looking straight ahead. I don't know how he can think he won the race. His nose was down trying to win it on the lean.
Unofficially, the time, 10.28.
And that
which is very slow for this field.
One of the slower ones for Carl. He ran 10.05 and 10.09 this year, but it's cool here. It's 20 or almost 30 degrees cooler than he's used to in Houston, or the conditions he ran in at the American Championships.
Nothing official yet, but at least the florist thinks he has won. As Lewis takes a victory lap with the bouquet.
Interesting, they knew they were in a tight race. Not one of the 3 guys in the middle of the track let their eyes wander to the side. It was 100%, and I would say that Adenican in the far left in the white, maybe it's because he's got all white on, and it sure shows up well. It's the torso, it's not the head. Christie's shorts, the blue shorts. Carl's celebrating, but it could be a little bit embarrassing here in about 3 minutes when they have read the photo.
Well, as they say at the racetrack, hold all tickets. They will look at the photo for the official results. That is the word from Oslo, and we'll be back with the official results after this. Al Michaels back in Oslo. Not the fastest 100 you'll ever see, but it had to have been the closest. Carl Lewis is the winner. His time, 10.26. Christie was second. His time was 10.27. Adenican was third. His time was 10.28. 2/100ths of a second separate the top 3. Let's go to Larry Rawson.
Al, I'm surrounded by silver and gold medals right here. Your book's titled appropriately, Life in the Fast Lane. You won by 2/100ths of a second. Were you sure you won?
Well, it's right at the end, but, you know, the guys ran a great race, and it's my 3rd day over here. I was just pleased to get out here with the victory. There's some great sprinters.
You seemed like you were stumbling over the last 30 meters or so a little bit.
Well, you know, it's the third. I just got over to Europe, and I probably felt a little down physically today. but I still ran well. And, you know, when you have great sprinters in the race, you have to go to your limit.
Okay, Linford, tell me one thing. You're certainly Jamaica's gift to Great Britain. What did you think? Did you feel you had it at any point where you were so even with him?
Well, I mean, it was pretty close. You know, I felt that at the line it was really, really close. It was hard to tell. I watched on the monitor and it looked, you know, really close. I thought, well, you know, I deserve a lap of 1 or 2.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the race right now. Carl, take us through it.
Basically, here, Larry, I thought I had a fairly good start when we get going. Okay, I thought I had a good start. Right here, Linford got out well, and Denikin got out well on the outside. And the main thing for me to do at this point, whether I'm out front or behind, is just to stay relaxed. And that was what kind of kept me through here. Right here, I did feel a little tight, but the main thing is to stay relaxed. And everybody right there in the front is running smooth, and I just had to do what it took right at the end, and I was just glad to get by.
Linford, you think you had him here?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was so close. I mean, Carl runs very, very similar to me, you know, and I like being next to him because, you know, whatever he does, he pulls me through.
The lean made the difference. Look at the finish here. Watch your lean, Carl. You started just a little bit sooner than Linford, and that might have been worth the 2/100ths of a second for the victory. You ran into a slight headwind. I was trying to check that during the race. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Glad to get out here with a win this year.
Al?
All right, thank you, Larry. So Carl Lewis is the winner. 10.26 is the time, with just 2/100ths of a second separating the top three, Marty.
Both of those men had their foot on over the line before Carl, but his experience was the factor. He got his chest farther out.